Hello, darlings. Good morning. Good morning. Hello, Gordon. Welcome, everybody. This is a very exciting episode. This is quarter 3, health of the industry. If you joined us for the first 2, then you'll have a little inkling of what's coming. As usual, this is very much a safe space. You are invited to ask questions. I will be manning the chat. Please do share ideas. Anything that you want to share with us, we will welcome. There is also a little evaluation form that we would really appreciate if you could fill out afterwards, and we will send you a copy of the webinar on email afterwards. So without further ado, ladies and gents, I am going to hand you over to the wonderful, the incomparable, the fantastic Mr. Robert Smith, who has come back early from his holiday to provide you with all this fantastic information. So Rob, my dear, take it away.
That's a very kind intro here. All lies, apart from coming back early from holiday. But yeah, seriously, lovely to see so many of you. Thank you so many for joining us today. What is State of the Industry and why do we do it? Bit of a recap for those of you who have never been to one of these before. This is our opportunity to share with you guys what we see as the big trends shaping the UK hair and beauty industry. When we talk about trends, we're not about to start talking about highlights versus balayage. We're not talking about long hair versus short hair, waxing versus tanning. We're talking about the key business metrics. We are looking at what are top salons doing, and we are sharing anonymized, aggregated insights to help you understand how you are performing relative to the rest of the UK. This is about your business. This is about you. This is not where you see data where you think, oh God, I'm not comfortable with that. Think about it as this is your business. This is not about you. And I think it's really important to stress this is about thinking about how we can move your business forward. We've got a poll later, which we'll talk about objectives here, but we've got this amazing testimonial talking about how there were lots of things that we as business owners can think about. Often we try to think about everything. Often it's just important to focus on one thing alone. And hopefully this will provide you with a few ideas. This, of course, is part of our educational series, whether that be on social, YouTube, your business coach. There is loads to talk about. So please make sure after the webinar you head over to getslip.com/education, because that is our educational hub. That is where everything lives, everything sits for anything that you need from us. So to kick it off, we're going to do things a little bit differently because a month ago I went to a really interesting webinar hosted by the local data company. I wanted to share a couple of key insights with you guys about our industry. Local data company is quite unique. They send out teams twice a year and they go and physically survey 3,300 high streets. And they actually go and check which businesses have closed and which businesses have opened. And what that gives them is a really unique understanding of the state of the high street. Are high streets getting busier? They're getting quieter? What businesses, what types of business are opening and closing? And so we worked with Lucy, who's the commercial director there, and we've got some really interesting data that I wanted to share with you and some recommendations. The big thing is what is growing. And if you are a barbershop owner, then depending on how you look at it, it's good news, bad news. But barbershops for the 10th year running are the #1 growth sector. So these are net figures. So in the UK, Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales, there were 300 more barbershops this half, in half 1 2023, than in the previous half. So barbers are growing, nail salons are growing, beauty salons are growing. And if you look at all of the other kind of sectors there, the top 10, fast food, takeaway, coffee shops, these are all sectors where people are choosing to spend their money on experiences. What you are seeing is people are putting money into experiences. They're putting less money into physical goods purchases. That is good for us because we are a service-based industry. We are an experiential industry. So that is really, really positive. The sectors that are shrinking, though, again, some that you will probably already guess: pubs, estate agent, bookmakers, fashion shops. So again, people spending less on clothes, more on experiences. However, for our sector, there are two kind of big things here. One, hairdressers. They are the largest sector that's in decline. Hair and beauty salons are also in there. Now, I think it's important to take a step back from this. Hairdressers, hair and beauty salons within our space of the market, they are the largest sectors. So losing 414 hairdressers sounds like a big number, but it's a big number on a big number. So yes, it is a little bit of a concern, but there are a lot of hairdressers out there. So seeing a few close is to be expected. And so what we discussed with the local data company are a couple of things. The sort of the personal care space, barbering, hair, beauty, has seen years and years of growth over the last 10 years. So there is going to be more competition around. And I think that's something for you to think about. Look at your high street. How many new hairdressers have opened? How many new barbers have opened? What does that mean for your business? Two, the other big trend that really came out was for SMEs, energy costs are causing closures. There's no point of denying that or trying to skirt around it. So that is something that is driving this data. But then also the big thing, the real positive, is what they're seeing is consumers are continuing to spend. And we see this in our data too, which we're about to share. But what's really important, they're spending it wisely. So if there are more businesses around for that consumer share of wallet, people are still spending, but they're choosing where to spend that. And that means that we as business owners need to think really, really carefully about where we're going to spend our money, or where our clients are spending their money. We can't guarantee that our clients are going to return, they're going to spend money with us. We need to fight for those clients. So that was something that was really, really interesting coming out from the local data company. What we talked about to Lucy is, well, how do we react to that? What do we do? And I think what she really emphasized was three things. It's all about change. The high street is changing. So if we just keep doing the same thing we've done for the previous 10, 15, 20 years, that's not going to end well for us. Those that are doing well are the ones that react to circumstances and to take appropriate measures. The second big point is what they're really seeing is the combination of physical and digital. This is both in commerce, so in physical shops, fashion, but also in service-based industries. If you are investing in digital, in your digital marketing, your digital experience, your website, your booking, etc., that is where you are going to do well, because ultimately you're giving clients what they want. Clients want that physical experience. They want to be in salon, but they also want the digital. They want the ease of booking online. They want the ease of paying online. And so it's making sure that you are really listening to your clients, asking your clients what you want, and reacting accordingly. So any questions we want to handle here, Pia?
No questions. We've had two comments. Amber says, I have 12 other salons on my road. I'm happy if that shrinks. And she also said, I like what was said about people spending on the experience, not just the service.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And that's what Lucy's really sort of saying is it's thinking about that end-to-end experience. It's not just the experience in the chair. It's the experience from the moment they think, actually, I need to get a treatment. I need to get a haircut.
Yeah.
Right through to the experience 24 hours after leaving that chair. It's that end-to-end experience that we need to think about. Christy, these are for half 1 2023. So the data is collected between January and June. It's analysed and is then shared with us in September.
Fabulous.
Okay, right. Obviously, please do keep asking questions. We'll pick them up as we go. What we'd like to now do is to pivot into, so that is the kind of the big macro data on what's happening across the UK on the high street. This is the data that is specifically to hair and beauty. So this is the slick data. We, as I guess a company, we work with 6,000 stylists. We've got 1.3 million bookings. We see over 60 million pounds worth of client spend flowing through our system. So we have a huge amount of data on what is working in the industry, what's not working in the industry, what client behaviors are, and that is what we are sharing. These numbers are all anonymized. They're aggregated at UK level by sector. And there is no identifiable GDPR data in here. So we scrape away all the salon names, we scrape away everything, and this is then looked at as a whole. And we're stripping out any bias in here, and we're trying to present this data back to you guys as, look, this is something that hopefully will help you make decisions of your business, where to go next, what to focus on, what good salons and what successful salons are doing really, really well.
Exactly. Well, before you move on to the next slide, if you can just flick back one. We have got a little poll here, which we just want to give you at this point So in your chat bubble down the side, if you can do some voting. Now you can vote for more than one. So just for us to understand where you are at, what are your business priorities right now? Is it one, earn more, grow your business, increase profits, reduce stress, save time, just get through today, manage my team better, understand how to use Slick better? If you can pop your vote in, that would be very useful for us to see what's happening here. Okay, interesting. I'm going to give you 50 seconds left. And then we will dive into all the exciting data. But this just gives us an insight as to how you're feeling. Okay, so currently in the lead is earn more, grow my business, followed by increase profits, followed by manage, motivate my team better, followed by reduce stress and save time, and lastly, understand how to use Slick better. But nobody said just to get through today. That's good. Okay. All right, team. Carry on as you were.
Well, that's that's good because it chimes with what we're hearing too. And certainly when we're speaking to salons and we've surveyed people,
Yeah.
the vast majority of owners that we speak to they're very confident. However, I think what's really encouraging is that the vast majority of owners are planning changes. They're not sitting on their laurels. They are identifying weak spots in their business and they are planning changes to fix them. And I think that confidence is certainly well placed because, again, based on what we are seeing, based on what I've just shared with the local data company, the personal care sector is in a very, very good place. It's incredibly resilient. Clients are continuing to spend, clients are continuing to visit. So let's get into it. The first thing that we are looking at is our occupancy. So also known for some of you might think of it as white space. So this is Christy, to your question, we're now switching to Slick data, which is quarterly. So this is Q3 data. And we're measuring that versus our Q2 data. So Q3, 75% of slots were fully booked. So we're filled up. That's great. It's really, really strong. It is slightly down on Q2. So it's down 1%. June, for those of you who can remember back 3 months, June was a record period. We saw a huge increase versus Q1. So to sustain that, it's actually a really, really positive position. What's quite interesting, though, is how this starts to vary by different business size. And so the ones that are the full, are busiest are the smallest. So freelance home salons, they are typically the busiest that we see. However, they've actually started to experience a little bit of a dip in the last quarter. Ditto for the 2 to 4s, the 5 to 7s. The ones that are actually performing the best in terms of quarter-on-quarter growth are the larger salons. However, they were coming off the smallest base. So they previously were around 64% in Q1. They're now up at about 76% in Q3. So those have gone through a bit of a transformation over the last 3 quarters that we've been tracking this data. So I think it's important to think about why this is the case. And I think one thing that we see, and when you actually, this is anecdotal, but also it's when you look into the numbers, the biggest cause is inequality in salons, which sounds like it's a very big term. But what this actually really means is the vast majority of salons you look at, businesses you look at, most of the staff are actually only filling 1 in 2 slots. They're about 50% full. What is different is that the owner is fully booked. And you speak to the owner looks at their column, their business, and they think, well, I'm slammed. I've been working from 9 till 6. I've barely had a break. What they're not looking at is the staff around the rest of the room who, they're filling up 1 in 2 slots. And I think as owners and as business owners, we need to take a sort of step back here. Just having your column as an owner, as a manager, or your chief colorist, your head stylist, their principal column being fully booked, that's not enough. Our role is to make sure every column is full. And that's from the senior stylist, the director, to the junior, to the stylist, whoever it might be. We need to fill all of those columns. And I think what's quite interesting is that link between home salons and business, because ultimately those home salons, those freelancers, they're sole traders. They are really, really motivated to fill every single slot because that's their livelihood. And I think it's important for us as owners and managers to think about that and make sure that we're not neglecting some of the other staff who maybe aren't as full as us if we're working behind the chair.
Yeah, so, I think the saying is, isn't it? You're only as successful as your weakest performer. And I think that always links back to who in your business is not at least 70% occupancy. And I've personally done a lot of work with my salons recently about getting assistants full and, doing different tactics, seeing what we can do to even get the juniors, the assistants, people, that staff often think, well, they're just juniors, they're assistants, they're meant to be empty. But there's certainly things that we can do there.
Yeah, 100%. I think when it comes to then filling those chairs, I think this is a really important point, and I know I'm going to let Pia talk for most of this because this is her big thing that she talks to all of her salons about. Filling chairs is marketing. Marketing is not discounts, and I think it's very easy to confuse the two. Marketing is nudging clients to book. It's the client who you haven't seen for 10 weeks to say, hey, look, your hair's probably getting a bit long, time for you to come back in. It's the client who's due to get a top-up, a refresh. It's the client who needs a fringe trim. You are just prompting clients and just sort of putting your hand up and going, hey, we're here. If you need us, if you've got a spare 45 minutes, spare half hour, pop in, we'll sort you out. If you're looking to treat yourself, don't go to the coffee shop, don't go to the restaurant, don't go to the wine bar, come and get a blow dry. That is marketing. And it's about finding times and events and reasons to talk to those customers. And I think what's really important is we have all that functionality in Slick, yet not enough people are using it. And looking at our platform usage, only 40% of our customers actually use our marketing functionality. But I know, Pia, you probably want to talk a little bit more about this.
Yeah, I mean, the salons that I work with, I've actually put a ban on discounts for a lot of them. Because they come to me and say, Pia, I need to fill my slots. I'm thinking about doing a 10% off. And I go, well, hang on, why? Why are we doing marketing in the first place? We're doing marketing in order to earn more money. So why are we then discounting in order to entice people in? So I've put a ban on discounts, and I'd love all of you to do exactly the same. The reason being is that, first of all, you are devaluing your services, you are devaluing your worth. You're also not making as much money as you should be doing because you're discounting. And the other reason is that if you do discounts and you do them often enough, clients will wait until you discount. And they won't come in their normal 8 to 10 week cycles for hair, for example. They will wait until there's a discount. If you are trying to do something to entice people to come in, a simple prompt works perfectly. And that can be something like, treat yourself this autumn. It can be something like, did you know that every hair service includes a head massage? It's simply about wording it correctly, enticing people to come in and prompting them to come in that way. If you are desperate to do an incentive, I would usually try and err on the side of doing it only for loyals, regulars, VIPs, treating the people that always come to you. And if you are thinking of doing something, I would try and aim for something that adds value to the service, like a complimentary treatment, a half price retail product, rather than discounting your services, because you don't need to. And it still astounds me that only 40% of Slick salons are using text message marketing, because it works. I see it every single day. And I've got salons on here that have had £9,000 return from doing a little blast out when it's quiet, when they're trying to promote something specific. It works, and it does not mean discounting. I would bar that word from all of your minds. I'm putting a ban on anybody doing discounts. You don't need to.
I think, I spent years at L'Oreal, and it was something that was really useful to see, was that idea of you're upselling. So come back, booking for your haircut. If you book by X date, we will give you a half price physio-based treatment. We'll give you a half price retail product. You are, to Pia's point, you're adding value. And I think that's really, really important, rather than sort of taking value off the service that people want to book anyway. And certainly when we have looked at this, the data, the campaigns that go out that contain a discount and the campaigns that go out that don't contain a discount, the campaigns that don't contain a discount actually perform better.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds mad, but that's based on millions and millions and millions of text messages that we can analyze. And so I think it's, look, if you are doing it, then, and it's something that I think a lot of people have been coached to do over the years, try it. It might not work for you. It might work for you, but try it. And I think that's the thing so we would always encourage you to do, is just try something, see how it goes.
Exactly. And just one more thing. Peter said slick marketing templates have been a game changer for us. So I am putting in the chat the link to the marketing templates. If you don't have those, get that link and copy it so you've got it ready to go.
Amazing. Great. Thanks, Pia.
Yeah.
One thing that is we get a little bit, and we thought this might be a bit fun, is just a bit of a myth busting. And you'll speak to a salon owner like, well, they've got 40% occupancy, 30% occupancy, and they'll say, well, no salon is ever full. And I think probably, without obviously knowing it, I would guess that there are some of these people in the room today. 16% of our businesses filled every single slot. That's insane.
In fact,
so
we're overbooked.
if you are in that, massive pat on the back, massive well done, because you are proof that it can be done. If you think that you cannot be fully booked, well, look, here is proof that you can be. And there is such a thing as a 100% fully booked salon. You do not have to accept periods of quiet, of sitting around waiting. You do not have to expect, if you're paying a wage to employed staff, you can expect them to be working all the time. Yes, they're going to have breaks, etc. But there is, I think we can change our expectations. We're seeing salons being totally booked up. And that's an amazing thing for our industry. And I think it's something for those of us that aren't in that position, it means it's something we can, especially when everyone's talking about wanting to grow their business, increase profits. I think it's important to kind of to bust that myth right here, right now.
Absolutely.
Average bill. Average bill is the next big one. This is huge. And this, when we were running the data, this is the one that really sort of jumped out to me. Average bill has jumped by £5 since quarter two. So it's now up at 60 quid. Previously it was 55 quid. It's now jumped to 60 quid. And that is enormous. And so in the last 6 months alone, it's gone by £7. So it's gone from 53 up to 60 from March to September. So why is this important? Why is this good news? This should give you guys confidence. This is all down to price rises. So we're stripping out any kind of upsell of retail, etc. This is service-based average bill. And so it shows you that clients are paying, clients are willing to pay, because we've just seen that salons are busy and we've just seen the average bill has gone up. So if people weren't willing to pay the average bill, we'd have seen salons being quieter. And if salons were only quiet because we were having to discount and we were having to offer low value services, the average bill has gone down. So the fact that both are so broadly really stable, that gives us confidence that we're in a really, really good place. So my challenge to everyone here is, have we done a price rise? Are all of your services profitable? Because it's really important, and I think this is something that came out in that local data company report and we were talking about, was we need to price on our cost base, not our rivals. So yes, there might be someone down the road who's doing 30 quid manicures. Great, that's wonderful for them. They might be self-employed. They might not be paying rent. They might not be all sorts of other things that might be going on in their cost base that might be different to yours. You have to base your pricing on your costs and your costs alone. If your costs mean that your price is way out of line versus everybody else, well, can you justify that? Do you offer a really premium experience? Is yours a totally different experience to everything else on the high street? So yes, you need to look at your competition, but your competition shouldn't define how you price. And I think this data gives us confidence that, people can put their prices up and clients will pay for it because we're in demand, which is, again, it's a great place to be.
And just on the pricing, we will be doing a specific pricing masterclass come January. So whether you do your pricing in January or April or another point throughout the year, we're going to be looking at it together. We've got a guest speaker lined up. And we'll walk you through it. We'll walk you through how to do a price increase, how to communicate it, to do different batches of clients. So stay tuned for that one. We'll have it in January.
It's like we've almost practiced this, Pia.
I know.
On that, if you're not following us already on Instagram, please make sure you do. 2 reasons. One, it's where all of our kind of bite-sized content goes out. So we have Instagram Lives, we've got pre-filmed stuff with peer advice, tips from all of our business coaches, from myself, but it's also where we will release events, things like the pricing webinar that Pia just spoke about. So if you're not following us, please do. It's the easiest way to make sure you're getting alerted of all of the great content, all the advice that's coming out, but also advice from other kind of businesses that we work with, other partners.
Absolutely. We've got another poll in 2 seconds. But before that, Rob, we have a question from Gordon. We don't have a choice but to raise prices. Costs are up, so our prices have to reflect this. But is there a ceiling?
Theoretically, yes, there is a ceiling. At some point, people will stop buying when the price doesn't reflect the value. I think what we see people doing well is how they justify that price, and it comes back to what we talked about right at the start of that experience. If you can continue to show value is in the eyes of the purchaser. What you might consider poor value, Gordon, I might consider great value, and vice versa. So it's all about thinking about what can you add to keep your cost base stable, but to increase the perceived value of that service. That could be, it's the coffees, it's the teas, can you look at something you can do with your supplier around discounted treatments? You can add in a complimentary treatment, whatever it might be, that makes you the go-to destination where people go, actually, yeah, prices have gone up, but you know what, the service is so good, I'm willing to pay that. And I think, Pia, you probably see this more than I do, but those sort of testimonials where people are getting feedback from their clients of, thank you for putting the price up, because actually I now think this reflects the value that I get. And this is my 1 hour a month of oasis, away from the kids, away from work, where I can sit, I can have a blow dry, I can get my hair cut, I feel good about myself. And yeah, okay, it's gone up by £5. I'm happy to pay that.
Yeah. And I think the other thing to remember here is that we don't know our client's financial position. And I've had numerous salons where we've done a price change together, and they were so nervous about losing clients. And then what actually happened is, yes, some of their clients may have gone to the more affordable staff. So they've tiered their pricing, so they've moved them to more affordable staff. But also what they've seen is that there are new clients coming through the door who are willing to pay more. And remember, it comes back to your worth and your value. So I think don't be afraid of doing a price increase, even if you feel it might be a little bit dramatic. We've had one other question from Christy. Does your analysis look into salons who are busier than others, and whether that is because they are cheaper per service?
That's an amazing question. So there's two parts to this answer. The first part is, from what we can see in our data, the salons that are busier do not have a significantly lower average bill than the national average. So the salons that are 100% full, it's not as if they have an average bill of £40 versus everyone else that's at £60. I think what is really important to say, especially about average bill, and this is probably the only data point that I would sort of say this about, is that this has a huge amount of variance across the country. The average bill in central London is very, very different to a village salon in Cornwall. And that's totally normal, because you've got different levels of income spread around the country. You've got we work with everything from a 6-site chain to a multi-million-pound flagship salon in the West End of London, to freelancers and everything in between. And so what a multi-million-pound West End salon can charge for a balayage is very different to what I would be able to charge in my home village in Essex. And so it's important we have those national averages, then plotting them regionally, everyone's going to be different. But broadly, we do not see people discounting to just fill up the chair with essentially unprofitable services and offering discounts.
Yeah.
Does that? Hopefully that answers your question, Christy. But please use the chat if it doesn't, or you want me to elaborate.
And then whilst we're on the topic of more tips, I'm just going to do another little poll with you, please, darlings. If you could cast your votes, and you can choose more than one. What other educational content would you like? And obviously we are now in a position where we are planning for 2024 and we want to give you what you want. So is it business growth tips? Is it how do I compare to other salons and barbers? How to manage, motivate my team better? Understanding slick features more, understanding reports, how to reduce cancellations, how to prepare for Christmas, how to do a price increase. You can choose as many as you like, but it will allow us to see how you're all feeling. Christy says, interesting. Thank you. You're very welcome, Christy. Well, don't thank me, thank Robert. Okay, so in the lead currently, we've got business growth tips at 90%, followed by how to manage, motivate your team better, how to do a price increase, understanding slick features more, interesting, how to prepare for Christmas. Well, we're going to be doing lots on that, by the way, coming up in November and early December. We're going to be doing lots of things on how to prepare for Christmas. We'll touch on it a little bit throughout this, but super interesting. Thank you very much, peeps. Carry on, Rob.
I saw one which was about cancellations, and we don't need to wait until 2024 because we can talk about that now. So cancellations, whatever we are doing as a group, you guys, us, with what we're trying to do, it is working. So cancellations are down versus Q2, which is really, 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 really positive. So for any of you that have put measures in place to stop cancellations, whatever you are doing, it is working. So big, well done, big congratulations. However, we still have a leaky bucket. The average business in the UK is still losing 1,800 quid of revenue a month. That, to some of you, is going to be an enormous amount. To some of you in the room, you might consider that peanuts. However, that is obviously the average. I'm about to show you a table that there's a lot of numbers on it, but I'm going to sort of allow us to pause on it for a bit. So what you've got here is the kind of the size of business down the left-hand side. So freelance, home salon, 2 to 4 staff, 5 to 7, 8+. And then the average of value that is lost due to no-shows and cancellations every single month. So I would encourage you to look at September 2023 and then look at which band your business is in. Are you in the 2 to 4? Are you in the 5 to 7? Are you in the 8+? Because these are the average value losses. And I would ask you to ask yourselves a very simple question of, are you happy to lose this each month? Because for the vast majority, what we're talking about here, it's the wage of another staff member that's being paid. It's going to be your product bill, easily settled. It could be a fairly decent contribution to rent, to rates. It's important to think about cancellations and no-shows in that context. This is money that was, in theory, should have come to you, but it hasn't.
Yeah.
Here, you're going to say something.
We've actually just had a well, first of all, I have this conversation a lot of, I really want to earn more. I want to earn more money. And we don't realize the impact that cancellations have on revenue. And we just think, oh, it's part and parcel of the industry. I'm just going to ignore it. I'm just going to try and get more people coming in. but it's this leaky bucket syndrome, which a lot of my salon owners will know because I've spoken about that a lot. You think of your business like a bucket. You're doing a fantastic job of pouring revenue in the bucket because your diary is, let's say, 70% full, and you think, fantastic, I'm going to have a great month. However, your bucket has holes in it if you are suffering from a large amount of cancellations, anything around the 1,800 a month mark. That means you are losing money. So the first thing we need to do to make sure that we are profitable after a price increase, which is the foundation, we then need to look at how we stop cancellations and stopping our leaky bucket. We've got a question from Melina. Do you have any advice on how to get new clients to pay deposits when booking in salon? I found this to be a bit of a problem recently when new clients will book an appointment, not pay the deposit request, and then not turn up. Well, Melina, very good question. There is a key phrase that I try and drum into my salon owners' heads in the hope that they will drum it into their teams' heads. And the phrase is very simple. It is, this is salon policy. So when a new client calls to make an appointment, for example, the team need to understand that, Mrs. Smith, I'm going to put your booking in the diary. I will send you a deposit request link. I am required to take a deposit from you to secure your booking because this is salon policy. If the deposit is not paid, I'm afraid I will have to cancel your booking. So this is a script that I would highly recommend that you and your team have. The other thing I would also recommend is that you've got to keep an eye, or get somebody to keep an eye on, when deposit requests have been sent out and when they haven't been paid. So if it's 2 weeks in advance and they haven't paid, chase them up. If it's a week in advance and they haven't paid, chase them up. If it's 48 hours beforehand and they haven't paid, give them a call, leave them a message if you can't get hold of them, and say, I'm going to have to cancel the booking if we don't get your deposit. And then get that booking out and get a new one in, because if they're not going to turn up, they're not going to turn up. If they want to turn up, they will pay a deposit. The other alternative, Melinda, is get them to book online where a deposit is already in place, and then you don't even have to have that conversation. Gordon says, do these figures include when a client cancels but rebooks for another day? Very good question, Gordon, and we'll come on to that in a second. Charlotte says, we wouldn't book them in without a deposit. Not ideal, but don't want the loss. Just on that point, Charlotte, about it not being ideal, something we need to remember is that paying a deposit does not mean they are paying anything more. They are simply paying a portion of their service now, which, given that most bookings are a 6 to 8 week cycle, hopefully, and we're in a cost of living crisis, it means that the client can spread their payment over 2 paychecks. It also means that when the client comes in, they're actually paying less than they should have been paying, so they're more likely to be agreeable to an upsell, a retail product sale, anything like that. So if we change our mindset around deposits, it helps. Helen, does anyone probably Helen, I'm going to answer your question in a second. Will, when we implemented the deposit no-show protection for online bookings, we found that online bookings dropped and people started to call up to make their bookings. What can we do to rectify this apart from unplugging the phone? Will, I would find out why they didn't want to make an online booking with a deposit. Is it because they wanted to cancel? Did they feel nervous about putting their card details in? I think there's an element of sometimes nervousness in the older generation about putting their details in, but they're still likely to go on Amazon and put their card details in. So I would find out, Will. And again, reiterate, it's your salon policy. If you want an appointment, you're going to have to pay a deposit.
Here, just on that, I think you touched on it earlier. It's all about marketing, and it's about communication. And I think if you just suddenly turn on online booking with deposits, it's a shock to the kind of client experience. If you communicate it and saying, hey guys, and this is on the website, it's on through marketing, it's on your socials, it's potentially a card in salon, it's something in the window, and you're saying, we now have this policy. This is, and we've seen some great examples of salons who have actually done a video and they've actually done a commentary of the online booking flow, and they've talked their customers through it. And at this point, you'll be prompted to pay a deposit. This is why we are asking for a deposit. The system is safe and secure, etc., etc. If you communicate it, you will typically find a lot less resistance. Where if people are not making online booking, picking up the phone, it's probably because they have there's an element of confusion, of concern that they're not sure about. They want to speak to a human to resolve it. So I think if you communicate it, send out a message, put something on the website, social media, in salon, typically you'll find less friction.
Yeah. Melinda, I'm just replying to your question. Peter says changing from 48 hours to 72 hours text reminders has reduced our no-shows as we're able to open up appointments when needed. Exactly, Peter. The other thing, so I've been testing this for a couple of months with some of my salons, which is to change the text reminders to go out at 72 hours and then add on the cancellation policy text alongside the reminder. Because if you ask your clients, what's our cancellation policy? They go, I don't know. So when you send it alongside your reminder and you do it at 72 hours, it means that if a client does cancel, you've got more time to fill the slot, but having the cancellation text alongside means it's more likely to deter them. Right. Thank you. Sorry, Rob. Carry on.
No, very good, Pia. I think back to kind of our myth busting, I think something we often find is clearly a very engaged audience here who are very aware that they do get cancellations and that they do want to act on it. I think there is another group of owners who believe that all the cancelled slots fill up anyway. So it doesn't matter if I get a no-show. It doesn't matter if I get a cancellation 24 hours out because I'll fill it. And actually, we spent some time sort of really digging into this. And typically what we see as a national average is of those slots that get cancelled or no-show, only 44% actually ever get filled. So you're typically, I mean, again, this will vary hugely by business, but typically you're seeing a huge revenue loss because if you've got a 3-hour, 4-hour balayage and cut, you've got that booked out, somebody cancels 36 hours. It's really hard to fill that whole of that slot. You might get somebody in for 30 minutes of it for a walk-in, for a haircut. It's very hard to fill that slot within 36 hours. I know there's some great examples kicking around our community of people using wait lists. I know Kerry is a big kind of proponent of this, of having a wait list where you can just drag people across should you need to in the event of a cancellation. But it is something that I think it's really important to tackle that myth head on, is that cancellations do not just disappear. They don't automatically get topped up. Yeah. You have to work really, really hard, and it is a genuine revenue loss that we do as an industry need to take really seriously. In fact, there was an article in the paper only the other day that I saw about it. So,
Rob, just one thing, back a slide. One thing I just want to mention here is that if a client reschedules or rebooks for next week when they were due to come in today, that is still classed as a cancellation because you're still left with an empty slot today. And I think that's such an important message to reiterate, because I know a lot of the conversations have been, oh, well, the client rebooks. Doesn't matter, because you're still left with an empty slot that you're paying rent, wages, stock, utilities, etc. So it's all included in this cancellations.
Very good point. So if the average business is losing 2K a month, that's 24K a year. So it's a very easy way of earning extra 24K in a year, which I think all of us in the room probably would be quite interested in. And so I think what we see working really well is it's a sort of a rule of 3. It's making sure that cancellation policy is available online. So on your online booking flow, on your website, on your social media. It's making sure that it is available and visible in store. So whether that be a card on reception desk, a small card poster in the window, it's really important to be very clear about what are the terms and conditions of booking with you. You don't want to put people off, but it's very important to be clear and to be transparent. So that is just a sort of an implementation thing, but it's also a team training thing, and it's making sure that the team understand why it is important that we have this policy. Deposits, nobody's going to want to lose 30, 40, 50 quid. If they do need to cancel, and there are always going to be reasons, then they will give you advance notice. And this is where I think people forget deposits don't have to be a black and white thing. there will always be the case where you can offer that human touch. And if somebody's got a medical emergency, then yes, you can waive it and you can refund that deposit, but that's at your discretion. You are in control. You can make that decision. And so you can always have a clause in your policy that says, look, yeah, there will be exceptions and we will look at each case on its individual merits, but you are crucially in control. And then something that, again, this sort of Pia just talked about, something that is working really well is using the new bolt-on within the system. It's then sending that cancellation policy with the SMS reminder. And it's just that visible prompt of if the client was thinking about cancelling or was thinking, oh, actually, maybe I will move that, or maybe they just have that visible prompt of, oh, there's a cancellation policy attached. Maybe I better attend. And again, it's just that little subtle nudge. And again, if you do those three things, I can guarantee that your cancellations, if it is a problem for your business, will come crashing down.
Yeah. Peter's just said, we've added the bolt-on message when Slick goes out, and they've certainly noticed it as well. So that's very good. One other thing that I just want to add to this cancellation section is, peeps, one thing I talk about a lot is automation and delegation. And if you can delegate to one of your team members, if you have a team, that when you get a cancellation, not just sit on our laurels. What we want to try and do is fill that slot, which means if you've got a cancellation at 2 o'clock this afternoon, you can fill that slot. So I would recommend get your team learning how to use marketing, or you can do it very quickly. Find 5 clients, 5 of your regulars who haven't been in for 8 weeks or more, don't have a future appointment. Send them a message. We've got a slot this afternoon, going once, going twice. You'll fill that slot. So set yourselves up for success with your cancellation policy, taking deposits, but also then have a cancellation protocol in place for when you do get a cancellation.
Great advice. So on to the next. Rebooking. Another well-deserved massive round of applause because we are at record rates. So rebooking rate increased from 58% to 60%. Amazing. So again, everyone that's put policies in place, and I think policies is the key thing that we'll talk about in a moment. Again, massive well done because we're at an all-time record. This is really, really interesting, is when you break it down by size. So the smallest salons, freelance home salons, they have a rebooking rate of 65%. 2 to 4 staff, 62%. 5 to 7 staff, 60%. 8 plus staff, 53%. Now, the clientele of a 8 plus staff to a freelance home salon, they might be slightly different, but broadly, we're talking to the same people here. So all of this comes down to what is happening at checkout, what is happening in the chair. This is a team training and a motivation challenge. Because ultimately, the way I would read this is where there is that personal relationship, i.e., one-to-one, it's the owner, it's the operator of that home salon, that freelancer. They are personally motivated to make sure that client comes back and make sure they're rebooked. In a larger salon, does that receptionist, does that junior, does that staff member have that same level of personal motivation to make sure that they are being rebooked? Because the numbers would suggest that we're missing something, because there is a 12 percentage point difference between the largest of our salons and the smallest. And yet we're still talking to pretty much the same client. And so I think rebooking is so, so important. Years we've talked about this as an industry, but it's all about process, and it's all about setting yourself up for success. It's about training the staff and explain why it is so, 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 so important. It's making it a sort of a team thing. And I think I know Pia's done with some of her customers, and very happy to kind of, you can set up a call with our business coaches to do this for your business if you'd like. But what I would be doing is I would be actually running a bit of a kind of a half-hour meeting with the team and talking about it, and actually agree on a script or a framework that everybody is going to use at checkout in the chair. And then once you've got that, it's all written down, everybody knows what their role is. Everybody then says the same thing. Everybody's agreed on how it's going to work, and it then starts to become habit. And then finally, if you need to, there is that safety net of we can automate it. And Slick can set it up so that a prompt is sent out to the client. And if after 24 hours they haven't booked back in, whether that be in person, phone, or online, we will see that they've been in, that they haven't rebooked. We can then send a prompt, say, hey, let's get you rebooked back in, book your next slot, call or book online. So we can have that safety net from Slick, but that safety net is not enough alone. It has to be run by the team. And I think certainly for the larger businesses, it would be something I would really encourage you guys to focus on and make sure that the whole team are working off the same kind of hymn sheet, so to speak. Final big trend that we're seeing, frequency. And again, the myth that we always see is all my clients are regulars. They all come in all the time. They're all coming in every other week. The reality across the industry is that on average, the UK consumer is coming in every 11 weeks. 11 weeks is the equivalent of 5 visits a year. Previously, we talked about a 7 or 8 week visit cycle, which 7 to 11 doesn't sound a huge amount. But if you think about it, if you're coming every 7 weeks to a salon or to a barbershop, well, that's 7 visits a year, 7.5. Well, that's 2 extra visits a year. If your average bill is 60 quid, well, that's another 120 quid per client per year. Now, you can very quickly go into Slick and see the number of clients you've got, and you can do the maths. And so that's why frequency is so critical. And I think what's quite interesting is looking at the frequency by sector, because it does differ. So bottom in the blue is barbers. So barbers are pretty much constant. They're working on a 9-week cycle. Makes sense. Men, shorter hair, need a cut more frequently, typically lower the service price. So it's something that we've seen for years and years, but that's staying constant. Beauty increased slightly in Q2, but it's staying constant at about 10 weeks. Again, services, nails tend to be a bit more frequent. And then again, where we're seeing sort of a change is in hair and beauty. So hair and beauty is actually improved. So previously it was at 12 weeks, that's now dropped to 11 weeks. Hair is still up at 12 weeks. So those hairdressers amongst us, that's where we really need to focus, because we need to find ways of bringing that down, whether that be a fringe trim, whether that be a treatment, whether that be a blow dry. If you've got, and I'm sure Pia will say this better than I do, but you will have people who think, well, my client's got a balayage. She can't come in every 7 weeks for a balayage. Well, of course not. But she can come in every 7 weeks for a blow dry. She can come in for a fringe trim. She can come for a treatment. She can come for, if you're a hair and beauty, she can come for a complimentary service, nails, or another beauty service. It's all about finding ways of getting that customer back in, even if it's to buy a retail product. It's not about getting them back in for 7 weeks for their standard, their main service, so to speak. It's about finding any excuse to get them back in the chair. Pia, I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, I completely agree. I think I've been working with a lot of my salons to help bring this cycle down. A lot of it is left over from COVID as well, when people were going longer and longer and longer between appointments because they were getting used to routes and all that sort of thing. So it's taken a long time to visit frequency down. Ideally for hair, we want to be 8 to 10 weeks. And for barbering and beauty, 8 weeks ideally. There are a couple of things that I've worked on together, like Rob was saying, about getting them in for a toner, getting them in for a treatment in between their visit cycle, or even implementing a completely new service called hair massage and hair wash. Get your clients in between. You can give that to the assistants and the juniors, and that's a little bit of extra money, but they're coming in more often. So there's so many different things that we can do, but it's one of the key things to look at, certainly. Finola says all of our clients will be having fringes from now on. I love that, Finola. Brilliant. Fantastic.
Cool. So what can we do? This is where the local data company and what we see really sort of syncs together. And what we see backing up Lucy's point about that combination of physical and digital is the dreaded topic of online booking. And I know I can see from some of the people, I recognize that there are big proponents of this. There might be in the room people who do not have online booking on for whatever reason. Online booking is key. Whether we like it or not, it is what clients want. And I think this is the single biggest lever to increasing client frequency. Because why? Because it makes it easy for clients to book. And if a client suddenly thinks, well, actually at 10 o'clock, a meeting's dropped out, or the kids now, I don't have to pick them up at 2 o'clock, I'm now free. If they have the ability to book within 2 minutes a blow dry, they're going to do it. Whereas if at 10 o'clock you're asking them to leave a voicemail, send an email, send a WhatsApp, wait for a reply, they might change their mind. They might decide that rather than having a blow dry at 2 o'clock, they're going to go meet a friend for coffee because a friend texts them half an hour later. It's all about making it as easy to do business with you as possible. And that is ultimately what online booking does. It's all about making it easy for you to take bookings. And I think we hear a lot of objections and a lot of concerns about online booking. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say 99.9% of them, I think I can handle. And I would challenge, I would go and find an edible hat to eat if we can't. I'll put Pia in charge of finding that hat. But if you do have concerns, you're not using it, then please do talk to us, because we have 669,000 different settings that we can set up the online booking to customize it to your requirements. Yeah. But the businesses that are killing it in the industry are the ones that are online. Is what Lucy said in her report, is what we're seeing in our data, because frequency increases by 23% when you have online booking set up. Yeah. And that's the facts. Whether we like it or not, whether we disagree with online booking as a concept or not, those are the facts. And I think if we want to tackle frequency, then it's something we do need to seriously consider. I can see the chat pinging off. So
it's pinging off. So Christy said, I was hesitant to do online booking, but went for it and so pleased I did. We found way more new clients than we've had before. Lucy says, love it. I'm open 24 hours with online bookings. Lucy, if you're the Lucy who I think you are, it took us a little while to convince you. Same with some other people in this room, but we got there, and now you're flying. Gordon says, not a problem at all. Oh, Haley says, I don't do online bookings. My concern are the timings don't work out. How do you find it? So, Haley, you can set up your timings exactly as you want them. If you want to give yourself a little bit of extra room as a buffer, you can do that. And when you get an online booking, you will be able to manage it, tweak it, do whatever you want with it. It's not set in stone in the calendar. You can move it and shuffle it around if you need to. Haley, I would say, start slowly. Try cut and blow dries and see how you get on. Kerry says, I was the most worried. Please try it, Haley. It took me a year to convince Kerry, but we did it, and now she's flying. So yeah, Haley, give it a go. Start small, see how you get on.
And I think the other thing is, it's not that it's irreversible. No. If for whatever reason I have to eat my hat and it doesn't work, turn it off.
I don't think we have anyone turn it off, though.
It's the flick of the switch. You choose what's set up. I mean, Carly makes a great point. She's just turned it on for everything bar color. So there's lots you can do. We have, I won't say who, a very high-end West End salon who has 100% of their services. They charge, I think it's £400 for a balayage. If the client makes a mistake and books in the wrong thing, that's going to be a problem because their occupancy is through the roof. Yeah. But they realized that the pros, and I think it was a great quote from somebody, the pros outweigh the cons, from Charlotte.
Yeah. And I mean, Carly and Vanula, in terms of if you want to do colours online, start slowly. Again, root tints. But the key thing with colour is write a description of the service so that the client knows exactly what to book in for. And remember, if they've booked online once, it will remember them from before, so they can just book what they had before. The jump between cutting services and color services is not as terrifying as you think. I know plenty of people in the room who had the same concerns. They've now got all their services on and they are flying. Again, start slowly. Start with root tints. Things like color correction, don't have them online, no point. But certainly some color appointments, you can just write a description.
Great. I'm conscious of time because we said we were going to be an hour. So a couple of things. We talked about education. What we have done is these 5 key stats we talk about, what we call salon economics. We now publish these on our education page. So if you go to education, you can find the salon economics page. This data is live, so you can log on, you can go and see it. It's available to anybody. You can see what is going on across the UK anytime you wish. We are also looking at bringing this, and I know she's listening, so it's one a special shout out to Kerry. Kerry, I always joke that she's the person we talk about in our office, and I can prove that because she's actually in one of our design templates here, a mock-up. What we are looking at is bringing this data into the product, so you can log on in a morning and you can see how you are doing versus national average. Are you above national average on occupancy? Are you below on that average bill? Are you above on rebooking? How are you doing? And so this is something we've had a lot of kind of demand for. What are other salons doing? How are they doing? And I think some of the comments we've had here of, oh, this is really interesting, hopefully sort of proves this. So this is something we're looking at doing. But I know Pia's got a little poll that she's just set live.
I have. Just out of curiosity, on a scale of 1 to 5, how useful do you find having this? Just pop your votes in. And Rob, do carry on.
Thank you. So we always end our session, and please do, if you've got any other questions on the presentation, any data, please do start popping in the chat. We will try and cover as many as possible. But we always just cover off at the end a little summary of what also has been happening at Slick HQ, just to make sure you haven't missed anything, but also to give you a bit of a sneak peek on what is coming up next. You're all incredibly busy, as we've seen, which is a great thing, which means it's very easy to miss stuff. So we're going to do a bit of a whistle-stop tour of the key highlights that we've stuff that we've launched, and then what we are going to launch. So first thing is our cancellation policies. So these are the bolt-ons that we've talked about. I popped a help article in the chat. These have typically, we've seen reduced cancellations by about 33%. So this is where, alongside your SMS reminder that goes out, you can then pop on a custom message that then refers to the cancellation policy. Equally, I know some great examples of people using this to upsell treatments, retail products, communicate information about parking, road closures, whatever it is. Any other information you need to communicate, it's a great way of doing that. The next big thing that we launched a month ago was our first module within Slick HR, which is the ability to set staff holidays and track staff holidays versus an allowance. So I could set up a holiday allowance for Pia. I could say Pia gets 25 days of annual leave per year, and Pia could then log her holiday in Slick, and you as the owner could then log in and see where Pia is at. Has she taken 15 of her 25 days? Has she taken 20 of her 25 days? Has she taken 25 of her 20 days? So rather than having to tally that all up on bits of paper, dare I say it, even invest in another system, all of that is contained within Slick. And this is our first foray into HR, which I will come on to in a moment. The next big thing was for those of you that have self-employed or sole traders working within your business. So you rent a chair out to somebody, or you operate a rent a chair self-employed model. And what we've introduced is Slick Pay and split payments, one card machine whereby the client taps once and that money will automatically go to that self-employed sole trader bank account. So the easiest way of doing it is this. And this, unfortunately, my animation didn't make it across the onto the webinar. But on the left-hand side, if you've got a business owner and 2 self-employed staff all using one card terminal, what happens is all of the takings for those 3 people all end up in the business owner's bank account, and the business owner pays fees on that. Whereas with our split payment system, what happens is the right amount of money ends up in the right bank account. So this is really important from an accounting, from a tax point of view, but also crucially, it means that everybody pays their fees. The owner is not just paying the fees for everybody. Everybody pays their fees and their fees alone. We've had a lot of uptake on this. We are also working on a slightly different version of this as a V2, which is going to be a revenue share commission sort of split, which will essentially automate payroll, whereby if you're taking a split of a service, so you keep 50%, they keep 50%, we will be able to automate that. And that's something that we'll be launching in Q4. Quick pause, Pia, any questions or?
No, all good.
All good. Christy, you've stolen my thunder.
I was just going to say.
Online gift vouchers coming soon, so they will be out in time for Christmas. Great way of increasing profits, being able to upsell. So somebody's in for books their own haircut, and then goes, actually, I'm going to treat a friend, family member, etc., and buy them a gift for Christmas. But also pre-Christmas, great way of increasing cash flow, because remember, you are going to get the cash for this gift voucher now. So you're going to get the 80 quid now, and that service might not actually be redeemed until the new year. So great for cash flow at Christmas. We are bringing in, for those of you that use our payment system, we're bringing in the ability to take payments remotely. So this will be a system whereby you'll be able to send a payment link to take payment remotely when the client is not actually physically present. So whether that be gift vouchers, retail products, whatever, all of this will be GDPR compliant. There's a lot of regulations around taking card payments remotely. So it's something we obviously take very seriously, something we need to make sure we are compliant on, and make sure that you guys are compliant on, but also it will be linked back into the client profile for sort of easy reconciliation, easy visibility for staff members. So whoever's sent it, you know exactly where you're at with that client. One thing that is really powerful, and we've talked a bit about, is marketing. We've given our marketing dashboard a bit of a refresh. So there will now be a much clearer layout of what are your results for marketing, and essentially your return on spend. So if you are sending out and you're spending £10 on a blast to your clients, what are you actually getting for that? And so you'll still be able to see the individual results of each campaign, but this will be actually sort of aggregated all up. So you'll be able to see an overview of your marketing performance for a given period. As you know, every account gets free marketing credits with us every month. We want you guys to use them. We want to see that occupancy go from 75%. We want to get it up. So please, please, please use them. If you are short of ideas, you're not sure how to use it, again, please reach out, use your business coaches. Customized permissions, lot of requests for this. We've got different permission levels already, but we want to be able to just give a bit more control to owners and managers. Obviously, the system has changed quite a lot this year, a lot of new features coming on. So there'll be the opportunity to set up different permission levels for each individual PIN code. And then the last thing that will be coming in is our staff reports and targets. So again, our second module of our HR, whereby you'll be able to set individual staff members their own KPIs. So you'll be able to choose from a set of KPIs. These are the KPIs that already exist in Slick. So you can already do a lot of this in reports. But crucially, this will allow staff to see their own KPIs. So again, this is optional. You can set this up if you want. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to. But staff will be able to actually sort of click on their profile and see how they are performing versus their target, but they'll also be able to see where they're at. So if they want to see how much money they've earned and they can work out their own commission, they'll be able to do that at a click of a button. So all safe, all secure. They don't need to pester you to get a printout or to log in or get you to tell them. They can see it at a click of a button. Conscious that there's lots there. There's also clearly some people that have discovered new things, which is fantastic. I think it's really important. Pia's going to champion this probably more than I will, but please scan that QR code. If you want a free session with your business coach, please book them in. We're one of the only softwares that actually offers free on-demand coaching where you can book in for a 50-30 minute slot to get the most out of Slick. And so please do use that. Take up that opportunity. There's no charge. business coaches go for hundreds and hundreds of pounds. We include that as part of your subscription. So please make sure you do take up that. If you don't need any help, crack on. But if you do need help, we want to talk through some concerns about online booking, about how do you reduce cancellations. That is why we have a team of experts. They've all got experience in the industry. They've all got a huge amount of experience working with thousands of salons. So please, please, please do use them. Any questions we want to cover off?
No, all good.
Perfect. In that case, the final piece is, well, it's a thank you for me. Equally, as a sort of thank you to you guys, if you do refer a friend that starts using Slick, you can earn up to £100 for every business you refer. So if you know of a hairdresser, barber, etc., who would benefit from working with us, who would love these webinars, who would love using the system, again, please scan that QR code and you can earn up to £100 for every business you refer. But apologies if we've run slightly over, but lots of amazing questions, lots of great ideas from people. So thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to present these. It's so fun to connect with everyone, to share ideas about how we can improve the state of our industry to help your business, but also to get your feedback, your ideas as well. So for me, a massive thank you. But I'll hand over to Pia for her closing words.
Thank you very much for joining us and for such wonderful input. Really, really appreciate it. You'll get a copy of this in your inbox later on today. Keep your eyes peeled on our education. Go to getslick.com/education. And in the new year, we will be doing all pricing related queries. So if we don't speak to you, have a wonderful Christmas. Keep your eyes peeled on our education. Mwah!
Thanks so much.